What's up? Double checking something. We should be good to go, man. But we should be live on multiple platforms now. I'm trying something different. Uh, cool. So it seems to be working. Awesome. So now I can actually stream on all the platforms. That's something I've been trying to work on for quite a minute now, man. All right. So let me shrink this. I'll try and keep my eyes on the comments, guys. There's so many different places I've got to look. But we're trying something. We're trying a few different things out. One, let's check the audio. You guys should be able to hear me pretty decently well. But yeah, we're trying a few different things out. So for one, we're going to be doing PowerPoints, just because I think it'll be easier on me because I was trying to use MS Paint last time and it was just awful. It was just awful. Almod, what's going on? Welcome to the chat. Guys, if I miss you in the chat, I'm sorry. I'm going live on so many different platforms. I'm not used to this. This is very new to me, doing it on this many platforms at one time. So bear with me. But if you guys have seen my other live streams that are like, if you're watching from like Facebook or Instagram and you haven't seen this before, this is what people on TikTok get to see. So if stuff has seen like kind of out of context and stuff like that, that's probably why. But yeah, we're gonna try this out. If this works out well, we'll continue to do it this way. I might get a little bit more creative with it as we go on, because if we can, dude, that would be so great. That would be so great. Maybe even do some gaming streams again here soon, because I do want to kind of do that and throw that into the mix. But for right now, we're still talking about that Chigel equation. I do want to make sure we're talking about that a lot, because obviously, if you guys go check out my story on most of my platforms, the paperback version should be coming out next week. If you guys want to see the full version, like if you're just ready to read it, ebook is already out there. If you guys go look up the Chigel equation, this right here. Where's my hand? Where's my hand to the camera? That, I'm not even going to try. I'm done. That is on Amazon. If you guys just go look it up, you should be able to find it. So if you want to check that out, you can. But what we've been doing the past few live streams on this is been kind of breaking down the Chigel equation. And there's really four aspects to this. You know, there's adaptation. The equation, again, we can kind of go into all aspects of this. But if you guys have any questions on any of this stuff sounds confusing, we do have earlier live streams you guys can check out on the YouTube. If you guys want to see any of the past live streams on this, you can check the YouTube. They are uploaded to YouTube, so that way you guys don't miss out. So make sure you're checking in on that stuff. But that being said, a big part of this equation is resonance. It's something I'm probably going to make a lot of content about. It's the thing that you guys can really ultimately control. So it's something that's going to be pretty big, and I wanted to spend some time on this today. Make sure you guys can understand this. And again, this is a concept we go through in the Chigel equation. So, Ahmad, thank you for the share. I appreciate that. I didn't even know I could see that when you guys do that kind of stuff. That's sick. But anyways, the big thing is resonance. I went ahead and just kind of labeled these in a different way. I even had AI came up, make these images for me, because I thought it would just be nice and throw in some color. But the hidden force behind growth and collapse, like, and this is very simple, guys. If anything resonates with you, if what I'm talking about in my content, and to be honest, guys, if you guys are watching this right now, you probably vibe with my stuff. You're on the same frequency. You get my stuff. You like my stuff. You resonate with it. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, if you guys get into the book, we actually talk about how this goes across different fields. It's not just like, you know, psychology here. But as far as like, you know, fitness goals and stuff like that's concerned, this is definitely a big factor. And when we go on, I mean, we can go on to the next slide. You know, what is resonance? We'll break it down even further. It's alignment. It's how aligned you are. So specifically with fitness, it's how aligned you are with your goals, right? Like, for example, I've talked to my clients today about this, did a live stream with them earlier. And we talked about staying on your shit during, you know, Memorial Day. You know, because obviously, guys, let's be honest, most people are completely just sitting on their butt most of the day or most of the weekend, drinking, eating food, stuff like that. And guys, if you're someone who's been trying to lose 20 to 30 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, if you've been trying to gain a lot of muscle, if you're trying to do anything fitness-wise, that is not in sync with those goals. So your resonance is low. And that's very important. It's important to know. If your resonance is low, it's going to mean your adaptation is not going to be as high, which means you're not going to get your goals as easy. It's going to be a rough road ahead of you. So it's something you definitely want to pay attention to. How aligned is your lifestyle with the goals you are trying to accomplish? That is what resonance is. This applies for everything you want to apply it to as far as success, but it applies to other systems as well. We're talking biology, we're talking astrophysics, literally. As far as what I found, it fits everywhere. So again, we'll go through it. But when you plug it into the Chigel equation, here's the Chigel equation. If you guys haven't seen the Chigel equation, it's A equals resonance times C is constraint and E is energy. So resonance time constraint divided by energy. We'll go over constraint on another day because I don't believe we've gone a live stream just on that yet. I can't remember if we have or not. I'll have to go back and look. But it's a multiplier as far as resonance goes. But the big thing you got to understand here, guys, is that if you're not aligned with your goals, it's simply going to send you in the direction of erosion. If you guys go watch the past live streams that we did on this stuff, we talked about the 3 E's of adaptation. I actually did a pretty poppin' TikTok on this. It got like 400, 500 likes. But 3 E's of adaptation, when we're talking about this equation, there's only 3 ways it goes, right? Can I highlight this? That would be dope. Awesome, dude. When I was on MS Paint, every time I tried to highlight this, it went awful. It just did not work for me. But the big thing here, guys, is we just got to make sure we're resonating with a lot of this stuff and making sure that we're aligning with our goals. If we're talking about the 3 E's of adaptation, there's 3 ways you can go. You can go towards evolution, which is where we all want to go. That's success. That means going on a fitness journey, trying to lose 20 pounds in 3 months. Very reasonable, very doable. And making that happen. You evolved, to the next level. That's why I ask you guys, a lot of the time you may have gotten a DM from me and it might have been like, hey man, are you just watching my content or are you trying to take it to the next level? Because I'm trying to gauge what your resonance is at. For a lot of people that get into some deep conversations with me and take it to the next step, I'll even ask you on a scale of 1 out of 10, how serious are you about your fitness goals, right? If you're watching this and I've asked you that, type it in the chat. I've asked a lot of people to ask. That's like a main thing I ask people. And because it gives me a baseline on a scale of 1 out of 10. How serious are you about your fitness goals? Is pretty much, on a scale of 1 out of 10, how much do you resonate with your goals? And if it's below a 7, we got problems. You're going to have a really rough road ahead of you. You can make it work with 7, 8. Definitely can make it work with 9, and 100% can make it work with a 10. But these are factors that are very, very real. If you are not paying attention to this, you are going to struggle, okay? Regardless of what your goal is. This doesn't just apply to fitness. But obviously, fitness is the field I'm in, so you're gonna see me, use that a lot. But that being said, man, this is a huge key point. This is a huge key point. Resonance is how in sync you are with your goals. And again, if this is out of sync, again, let's say you're someone during the holidays right now, Memorial Day weekend, and you've been trying to put on like 5 pounds of muscle and shred that, that beer gut you've been having the past like 10 years, right? You've been trying to get rid of that for the past like 2.5 years, and it keeps happening. And it's because of weekends like this where you spend the weekend drinking and then you spend the week being good, where it means literally half your week is effed up. And on weekends just like this, right? Memorial Day weekend, 3-day weekends where everyone's partying, everyone's having fun on the lake or at the beach or doing whatever, right? Getting you unaligned with your goals, which is going to send you down a wrong path. It's going to make you have a low resonance, which means you're going to have a lower adaptation. And that leads you towards the other E of adaptation, which is erosion, which means you're going directly away from your goals. If you're plateauing in your fitness goals, or you're directly going backwards, like you tried to lose 20 pounds 3 months ago and you ended up gaining 5 pounds, you are eroding. Whatever you're doing is not working. It's time to change. Okay? If you can't do that, then you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to be, and guys, we talk about, what's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. That's literally the definition of insanity. Okay? That's why, it's part of the reason why I made this equation, is so you guys can see, like, hey, if something's not working, Jack, we got to change something. But at the same time, you shouldn't be doing this every week, right? There are people out there who make the mistake of trying to change something every other week because they're paying too close attention to it. They're running off of anxiety. They're running away from something. We'll get into that here in a little bit because that goes into something we talk about called dark resonance, which is a thing. At least that's something we use in the book. But that being said, without R, no matter how hard you work, you are misfiring. And again, here's some analogies right here. Again, synchronicity is a big point here. Synchronicity is resonance made visible. Again, a great example of this is be thinking about someone and then you just get a text from them, right? You were in sync, right? You resonated with that. Like you guys were both thinking of each other at the same time, and that resonance and synchronicity kind of make, you know, things visible right then and there. Or again, like I said, synchronicity is just simply like going for a goal, saying you're going to try and do something that's hard, and then you end up doing it and you complete it and you're successful at it. You were in sync with your goals, right? Synchronicity is huge. You have to be in sync with your goals if you want to get anywhere. As far as my audience goes, you guys have to understand that part. If you're trying to get somewhere, you can't be doing stuff that doesn't fall in line with those goals. A simple answer here, guys, is just have this little thought experiment with yourself. Let's say starting today for the next 5 years, you do everything you're supposed to do right, and you get exactly where you want to be in 5 years. What is that person doing? Are you doing the kind of things that person is doing? If the answer is no, you are out of sync. It's as simple as that, guys. I mean, you do not see these freaking jacked ass these people online you see that have these bodies that you want. You don't see them doing all these stupid mistakes you see all these other people in your everyday life doing. Like ordering McDonald's every other meal, or freaking drinking every other night, or barely drinking any water on a day-by-day basis. I have some people I've hit up that literally don't even drink water. They just drink cola. Like, when you live in my... I know that sounds crazy to some people. Some other people, I'm saying that, and they go, yeah, that's me. It just depends on who you're talking to. But yeah, dude, that's not in sync with, you know, even being alive, honestly. So we got to make sure we are in sync. Synchronicity is huge when it comes to this stuff, okay? And again, I want to state this. I'm going to apply this to a lot of fitness because I'm in the fitness domain. You know, domain is something we talk about in this book. It just means different fields, right? We have like, you know, personal training. You have nutrition. You have, you know, going completely outside of this realm. You have cooks. You have cleaners. You have, you know, it's just domain specific, right? And so this equation works across domains, all right? In biology, cells respond to resonant signals. Something we know. It's very well researched. It's not on here, but in physics, you know, if you see, you know, you have a opera singer who has a wine glass and she sings the right note, it resonates and shatters the glass. You know, that's physics for you. It's not even on here. You know, fitness, again, this one's the one I'm going to be talking about the most, but training must match your real goals. Again, if you're, for example, another great example of this is being sport specific with your training. Like I see so many people training like bodybuilders that have no expectations of being in a bodybuilding competition. They think that's just the way everyone's supposed to work out. And no, it's not. That's that sports way. When it comes down to it, most of you guys just want to look good without your shirt on. And that's going to be mostly diet and making sure you're getting weight training, hitting most muscle groups 3 to 4 times a week, and you're good. Right? But most of you guys thinking, oh my God, I have no idea how I'm going to make it to the gym 5 to 6 days a week. Make sure I get that, you know, 30 minutes of elevated cardio, he'll elevate, you know, whatever the fuck they're doing nowadays, doing all these like carb cycling and so you don't have to do that. You have no, and now unless you want to be a bodybuilder, but most of you watching that content and trying to do that stuff have no expectations of doing that. You got to be goal specific. What most of you guys want is you want to get rid of the beer gut, right? You want to be able to play with your kids and not feel like you're running out of breath, right? You want to be able to have feel confident in your own skin, right? A lot of those are very basic. You want to feel strong and feel like you can, defend for your family, right? Let's say someone tried to attack your kid or something. I'm talking to the dads out there right now. Or let's say for the moms, let's say something happened to your kid and you had to run after, like, let's say this literally happened to one of the trainers I know. This is the reason she actually got in shape. Her toddler was walking out towards the road and she was so out of shape she barely could pick herself up to walk and go stop him, and she tripped. She was so out of shape she couldn't get to the kid, and luckily someone else ran after her and grabbed the kid, but she literally couldn't even pick up her, save her own kid. You see what I'm saying here? So like, if these are your goals, that's what you really align with, and you need to train for that kind of thing. You don't have to train like a bodybuilder. You don't have to train like an athlete, and that's who I mainly try and coach. You got to train specifically for what you're trying to do. And most of you guys just want to get that weight off and live a long, healthy life. And that means, setting your goals and setting your day-to-day life based off of that. But if you set your goals to be unrealistic and something you don't even align with, that means your resonance is not going to match, and you're just simply not going to show up and do that shit, right? You're not going to show up and train like a bodybuilder because you don't want to be a bodybuilder. But you do want to be able to provide for your family. You do want to be able to protect your kids. You do want to be able to live a long, healthy life, right? That'll get you in the gym. You resonate heavily with that. That's a good reason. But most of you aren't thinking that way. You think, oh, I got to look better than the girl on Instagram who's taking, freaking testosterone and whatever else, has a personal trainer, is putting all of her time and money into this. And honestly, she's a hard ass worker, but she's doing it for a competition that I have no expectations of ever doing. Right? Like, that's what a lot of people are doing. Same thing with dudes. I say that because I've trained a lot of women that do that exact thing too. But I do the same thing with guys. I see so many guys get on gear because they see so many people getting on gear thinking that's the way to do things, and it's not. So this is the kind of stuff that you just have to kind of be in mind with. We'll move on. But psychologically, motivation spikes when goals match identity, right? This is very simple. Fitness and psychology basically go hand in hand because, when it comes down to it, you still got to make yourself do this stuff. And that takes psychology and having a mastery over yourself on this stuff. And it just mainly comes down to you are more likely to do the actions that are required for goals that you identify with. If you don't identify, again, as a bodybuilder, then don't do bodybuilding shit, guys. Again, a lot of you guys are that's why I train a lot of ex-athletes, because there's a lot of ex-athletes doing bodybuilding stuff when they really want to train like they used to be in high school, right? And be athletic like they used to, or even more athletic. Train like some of these NFL athletes or some of these, next top level tier stuff. That's, taking it to the next level, evolution. Again, that's the whole point of all my training is evolving. But again, that's the whole point of this book as well. In AI, guys, I gotta say this, we do spend a lot of time talking about AI in this book because it's just simply something that comes up quite often. I almost want to do an AI, its own live stream, because it does get pretty in depth with that kind of stuff. We might do that, but yeah, AI adapts faster with resonant aligned data. So again, this is stuff, again, we've already know, but we will spend a lot of time on AI here in future chapters. I'm just going to let guys know that. But this is where we're going to start talking about dark and destructive resonance. Okay. The big differentiation here is dark resonance typically applies to living organism, whereas destructive resonance typically applies to non-living organisms. So like a great example, we already brought up an example of destructive resonance, but like, again, an opera singer singing into a glass, right? And it crumbles, it literally destroys the glass. That's resonance. It's resonating with it, but it ends up destroying the object. That's something that does happen. And that is, again, that's why we bring it up in the book, destructive resonance. And it's something that it can apply to living organisms as well. We won't spend too much time on this because these are topics that I haven't even really fully gone down, or at least destructive resonance. I've spent a lot more time on dark resonance because something I resonate with, because, I was one of those kids that used anger to try and, let me explain what dark resonance is. Dark resonance is more like resonance someone feels psychologically with something that may be negative, but still may help them adapt in a positive way. Or at least it'll help them evolve in a certain path. But this could be shame or pain or anger or rage. Even though they're not positive things, they can still help you adapt. But at some point, they're going to end up taking you in the wrong direction. And that's what dark resonance is. It can start making you make decisions that aren't the best. Again, anger is a great one because that was the one I always based things off of. I used to always, I got into fitness because I was angry at myself. I was shameful of my body, for example. But the thing about that is that it got me very, very far for a long time. I'll be honest with you guys. It's part of what helped me get abs, way back in the day. But at the same time, I wasn't able to build any more muscle on top of that. So I stayed like a sub 200, around 200 pounder, guy, like 6% body fat with abs, which wasn't bad, but I was capped out because I was running off of dark resonance and I wasn't respecting the fact that, like, hey, if I just keep running off of anger and I keep like making myself feel bad for missing workouts or making myself feel bad for not being exact with my tracking and missing a little bit of things here and there, then it ends up making it to where I'm being so hard on myself I can't recover properly and I can't build muscle on that. And so there are boundaries with dark resonance. It may help you get to a certain point. A better way of saying this is something you've probably heard therapists say more often, but it's no longer, it's something that you used before that served you in the past, but no longer serves you now, right? You probably heard a lot of people, like therapists online, talk about that kind of stuff, but this is no longer serving you, right? There becomes a point, and if you can identify it before it stops serving you, that's even better. But it's something you do want to be aware of. It's something that, you know, for a long time, I really believed in dark resonance, you know, and I didn't even have a word for it. I just like, I had a more cold and dark, to lack of a better term, very dark approach to it. I can't even fathom, I can't even speak the stuff I would think in my head while I would work out, which it honestly sounds super like edgy right now. Honestly, I'm kind of like embarrassed to even say it like that, but that's just how my emotions were at the time. But it just kind of, it got me into a zone. But at the same time, you can't run every workout like that, right? Like you can't run every workout, you know, in a fight or flight zone. Like you need to be able to function mentally. And so thank you for the gifts, by the way. I do see those over on the TikTok side. Rat. Yeah, man, this is something you guys definitely want to be aware of. If you can sense that it is dark resonance, you need to figure out where the actual honest resonance is, because there is a true way here. And get yourself out of that before it ends up biting you in the butt. So something you want to be aware of, even though it may be helping you evolve and fueling you to an extent. Like I said, rage is a great example. It's going to bite you in the ass down the road. So be aware of that stuff. But my final thoughts here, if you're struggling to stay consistent, it's likely a resonance issue. This is the one thing we really can control out of the Chigel equation. Like I said, the other factors in the Chigel equation are really going to be, energy and constraint, and you don't always get to really choose that. You don't get to choose how much energy you're going to have. Like, for example, there's a lot of people out there who don't get to, you know, are going hungry today, right? There's a lot of people now, and it may not be you, but like I said, that's not something you necessarily always get to choose. Like a lot of us are very fortunate, have a lot of energy. You know, I've got lights on right now. There are people, you know, across this world who have no lights, right? Like energy. And when we talk about energy, it has to be domain specific. Again, we'll talk about this in later things. But when we talk about these different variables, just understand they are domain specific. You know, for example, calories are a form of energy, but so is, like, you know, manpower or, you know, electricity, just different domains. So that's something you got to kind of keep in mind. Everything we apply the Chigel equation to is domain specific. Whereas, you know, like I said, energy and, again, constraint's very simple, guys. It's the stuff that, like, you don't control, like the problems that happen to you, like someone cuts you off in traffic, or, you know, maybe, you know, you were supposed to get up at a certain time, but your alarm clock broke, or, you know, whatever the case may be. It's the stuff that's out of your control, but it still constrains you. And some of it is in your control. And it's about managing constraints. But, like, you know, for example, another constraint is that we have to eat, you know, or that we do get tired, which is, you know, interlapped with energy in itself. But some of those we don't control. Resonance you directly control. How in sync you are with your goals is something you directly control, right? You know, whether or not you decide to, you know, track your calories a day is something you totally control, right? Now, do you want to lose 20 pounds? Is that something you really want to do? Then you better fucking do that kind of stuff, right? Otherwise, you're not going to have high resonance. You're going to have low resonance. It's not going to help you with the equation. So this is stuff you got to keep in mind, guys. Like, resonance is the number one, like, variable of the Chigel equation that you can control. So make sure you're very much keeping that in sync with your mind, and not like, because again, guys, I talked about this in the last live stream. A lot of people you're always adapting, but a lot of people are just passively adapting. You're not thinking about it a lot, but it's always happening. If you don't set up an alignment with it, first of all, you have to set a goal. That's the number one thing people aren't doing. I've talked to so many people. I've been in too many DM conversations where I'm like, all right, man, what's your goal? Well, I don't really have a goal. I just kind of want to work on being healthier. You can't do that. That's not going to help you. You have to be exact with your goals if you want to resonate with it. And again, resonance directly dictates how serious you're going to take this. That's what resonance is. It resonates with you. If it didn't resonate with you, you're not going to show up for the workouts. You're not going to track your calories. You're not going to drink the water it takes because it takes work. It's not easy. It's not going to just fall into your lap. So first off, set a goal and then stay in alignment with that goal. That's how you build resonance. Okay. That's all I've got for you guys today. If you guys got any questions, make sure you guys are dropping them. Rat, thank you for the donations during today's stream. Again, if you guys, again, really for sure bring up the question so I can do further live streams on that. As far as I'm concerned right now, I believe we are going to be talking about either constraint or energy on the next live stream. So stay tuned for that. It'll be on Wednesday. I keep telling you guys I'm going to have live streams on Friday. Those are usually up in the air. I'll leave the weekends kind of up to chance because I usually got a lot of stuff kind of floating around and going on. But like I said, for sure we will have one on Wednesday, and I'll see you guys on that one. Peace out. Have a wonderful